horse drifted alarmingly in the betting was, fancied in the morning, continued to drift. It was late on the exchanges to lose. It was something you'd see in a Dick Francis novel, Charles Burns.
The ground is soft. It's
heavy.
It's soft on times.
It's heavy.
Okay.
Hello and welcome. It's that time of week again. It's Sunday sermon time. And joining me as always is John Lang and Chris Lorne Malvo. Yes, no, Leicester.
Yes, no, Leicester. It's a red tide, this life.
Fargo. Gotta watch that.
Mm.
The three of us are going to chew the fat this week on all the topics as usual. Obviously, this weekend is a big one in terms of racing front because we've got the DRF Festival and we're going to look forward to that. So, welcome, gentlemen. Nice to see you. How's your week been, John and Chris?
Go on, John.
It's nearly over, so it's good.
Yeah. We're above ground. That's all I'll say. That's about it. Cheery.
I'm about bad to rough in places, so we're all good.
I actually went to see my doctor about me gambling. I said, I'm worried about my ROI and where it'll be in 2 years' time. He said, when his scan results have come back, I wouldn't worry about 2 years' time.
Yeah. Don't start listening to any LPs. That's all I'll say, yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
We'll start off on the DRF because that's where we usually start the review section, where we are going to be talking a little about some Cheltenham prices as well. So if you don't normally listen to the review, it might be worth listening for some pointers of how to oppose what we say. So first of all, the DRF, a question on it. Is it better than the Cheltenham Festival?
Well, clearly not, because it encouraged James Knight to have an absolute onslaught on Willie Mullins' domination of the Irish scene. And probably rightly so, really, pointing out that Willie was looking pretty invincible in the Grade 1s and it's all too predictable type thing. But are we heading for that sort of thing at the Fed anyway?
Well, we'll come on to Big Corp and what it's doing to racing,
Yes.
both in betting terms and, of course, not just in bloodstock. But Oxford once been on and he said, DRF, I enjoyed the racing. James Knight saying it's uncompetitive. Mullins has the most horses, but he runs them and respects the calendar and races. All trying. Not sure about that. In an ideal world, they would be with other trainers, but that's never happened anyway. Dickinson back in the day, etc. It's a fair point. I agree with some of that, not necessarily all of it, but James Knight, I think, is a point. It's worth a discussion. So, and we'll come to that when we get onto the Big Court bit, which will be after the review. We're going to start with Saturday, the racing that sort of took place on day one, where I think Racing Blogger was still sober then before he went clubbing last night. How old is he? He must be pushing 50, John.
No, I'd be 56 at least.
Yeah. He shares the same birthday as Joe Fanning. That's like an exclusive reveal. So. Nearly 80, isn't he? He's got to be.
Yeah.
Got to be nearly 80.
Joe Fanning,
Yeah. Everyone born on that day, of course. Yeah, absolutely.
I was lying about that. I've no idea when he was birth, but I was just doing it for comedy value. That's it.
Yeah, I would say good job you said that because I get people messaging me saying,
no, he's not. No, I think he's wrong there.
Chris is wrong about Joe Fanning's birth.
Yeah.
If anybody's out there that actually sends Joe Fanning a card on his birthday, please stop listening.
Very good.
Final demand, John, winning the opening contest.
Impressive, beat the monster Wingman, didn't he?
Yeah.
I'm still not convinced that they keep going up in trip with Wingman, and I honestly think, given the tactics that they're employing, he can do some serious damage over two when he can get his turn, But they don't seem to care about that at all. They just going in trip.
I'd just abandon hurdles with the second. And anything.
Well, yeah.
We're not about speed. He's just got a high cruising, high galloping speed on soft ground. I'd be entertaining all sorts on flat over 2 mile. Maybe an even Ebor horse on soft ground, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
He can't half gallop. He makes a terrible shape over his hurdles. He don't respect them. Might need a fence, actually. Maybe it's just like a case of, well, I don't need to jump to get over these. Just walk through them.
No, I mean, like you said, he does make a terrible shape. It's sort of like a dachshund blowing an air bubble out of its ass.
Yep. So final demand then. Obviously, now is very popular in terms of his next target, which I believe is going to be the Ballymore. Is that correct, John?
Is that the Son of Lions one? That's the second one.
But no, it's the Albert Bartlett.
Good one's a 3 miler, isn't it?
Albert Bartlett's the 3 miler.
Yeah. I think this is the 2 mile 5, isn't it?
Yeah, Ballymore's 2 mile 5.
Yeah, 2 round 2 and Triumph 2 and...
Yeah, this is problem. You know, when people say, like, they've had a go at me before for moaning at, like, sponsors changing names at races. I don't know about you, but I always remember them as a certain race, and I can't get out of that. That's what I'm just used to, and then you have to change because what sponsors have changed the name or whatever.
There'll be somebody out there that remembers the Arkle when Arkle was running, and will be pissed off that they're calling it the Arkle now.
So it's the Turners now at Novice Hurdle. You see, this is a problem. When they get multiple entries, it's really difficult because you just don't know what they're actually going to do. Because this is a problem. When you've got options, it's really difficult to say anti-purse.
You'd be very fluid with this one, wouldn't you? I mean, he could drop back a furlong or go up tails. I mean, nobody's going to give a flying fuck on distance.
No, I can't tell you at this stage. They probably favour the Turners. I think given the pace he showed to dispose of the tank, they might be thinking Turners with him. I don't know. It's a tricky one. And I won't believe anything they say in quotes either, because they often tell pork pies. It's a difficult one to see where that's going to go. We don't know. Very impressive. Hard not to be impressed by that, and certainly a leading contender for either. In the next one, the Juvenile Hurdle, I'm afraid Ireland are not going to be winning this year's Triumph Hurdle. This now, surely, John, is a complete swan vista between the machine, Lalamba, and the very impressive East India Dock.
It looks that way, doesn't it? I mean, these all look much of a muchness, really. The only one I thought could come over here and run a nice race for me was Galileo Derm, and it wouldn't be at Cheltenham. I'd be wanting it to go to Liverpool, because I think the nature of that track would suit her down to the ground.
Yeah, you liked that horse on flat, didn't you? I know.
I thought she underachieved, but you never know. The hurdles seem to have brought her on a bit, and I think Liverpool will be an ideal track for her.
Fair comment. She's got a nice bit of foot, Galileo Dame. Nice bit of closing pace she showed there. Like you said, I'm not sure how strong the level is. I'll be perfectly honest. I don't think it's anywhere near Lamber and the East India Dock, but yeah. The next race I'm coming to, of course, is the Irish Arkle, where Madgeborough recorded a decent time in disposing of what in the end was just okay opposition. Decent, but Il Atlantique running no sort of race whatsoever.
I think given the marks, I think Firefox's performance is the same marker to it.
Yeah.
That's reasonably consistent, I think.
I went through this in my head because I put a post on Twitter saying that I couldn't have Madgeborough beating Sergino if he jumps like that, like he did on Saturday. It's not polished enough to beat Sergino in terms of how Sergino jumps a fence. Sergino is just far more natural. I'd say similar engines as well. I don't think there's a lot of difference in engine between them.
I prefer this one to running 3 mile.
What, Madgeborough? Wow.
I think the stamina there to be drawn out myself, and I think the tempo along the trip is probably easily jumping worries as well. Big unit, isn't he, for 5?
He's likeable, and obviously you Irish listeners, I'm not dissing him. I didn't understand the punt after the race, knocking him in from 3-1 into 9-4 straight after the race, whether that's just bookies just trying to get you in at shorter odds or tempt you in or whatever. I didn't get the pundits waxing lyrical either about it because it didn't particularly excite me. I didn't watch it and think, oh, well, that's...
I think the trouble is you're conscious of what he's likely to be up against in the Arkle, and that's always going to colour your judgment, you know. I mean, as I say, you know, I mean, I'd love to see him over 3 at the festival because I think he'd wipe the floor with whatever turned up in that.
It's interesting you said that. So John thinks that Madgeborough's jumping will be put under pressure in an Arkle. But they always say you have to stay further to win an Arkle, so maybe that is in his favour. You usually go a good gallop in that. But I'd still say the prices at the moment are about right. He's drifted back out to 11-4, 8-11 Sergino. I'd say that's about right as things stand. I think on the day, they're going to be something like 8-13 and 2-1 or 9-4 on the day, I think. Something like that. That's how I see it. But I'm not convinced he can overturn Sergino. If he makes them mistakes, he won't do. It's as simple as that, really. Maybe a step up in trip then, according to John. Galloping Deschamps, John, where does he sit?
He's best mate without the annoying owner, isn't he?
Yes.
You can't see Audrey Taylor bursting into a song about him in winner's enclosure or anything like that. So I kind of favour him over best mate, to be honest.
Yeah.
He's beating like a similar ilk of horse all the time. Different ones are filling the placings, but there's nothing filling the placings that you think, ooh, fucking hell, that's a good horse.
I think we've said this before. What we find remarkable with this horse, I know there's been greats of the past, like Kauto Star. People sort of crib galloping, so he wouldn't have beat Kauto Star and this, that, and other. But what I like about this horse is he doesn't seem to have blowouts. How do you do that? How do you race at the top level for so long and just never blow out? Even when he's got beat, he's like second or third. It's absolutely astonishing that to do it at the top level and never get stuff.
And he stays so well. I mean, I was saying this man, I'd love to see him international.
What, with everything out at weights?
Well, I think he could do that. The Gold Cup national double. He'd only have 11.10 to carry. Loads of them would be out the handicap. The fences are not surely never going to be any easier. I think to run round there far mile, I think he'd be tailor-made for it. I think he'd be a good bet.
If John owned it, it'd be doing Gold Cup and national.
Yeah, I would. I'd be able to go.
Well, why not? It's 9 now. You might not be able to do double the year after.
About the ideal age.
A class act is Galloping Deschamps. Certainly the best of recent times. The best, really, since the likes of Kauto Star, without a doubt. Quality horse, good engine, quickens, stays, got it all. Jumps well.
Nobody writes a song about him, please.
No. Absolutely. The Sunday fair took place and we saw Ballyburn, where he got thumped by Sergino at Kempton, on better ground there in comparison with what he did today, John. He looked like a very strong stayer at 2 mile 5.
Yeah, I mean, there was a little bit of toe when he came away from a horse I actually like, Croke Park. I think that's a solid 3 mile novice. Done that with improve all season. I don't think that's outstanding form, but I think it's a step very much in the right direction after Kempton, where he kind of had alarm bells going after Kempton. It was a bit, he sort of got smashed sideways, didn't he, at Kempton? But he could have been up against one of the ones. You know, we don't know that for a fact yet, but he might have been.
Yes.
It's easy to make an excuse for him at the minute.
Yeah, you'd certainly say that was a decent enough trial for a Brown advisory.
Yeah.
On the back of that. I know you like Croke Park a lot. Be interesting to see what they do with that. They might have fucked the mark a bit if they're thinking, right, we might.
It'd have been all right for like the old national hunt chase, wouldn't it? For novices, I would have thought.
Well,
and you know, how much jockeys up. That would have been lovely race for that.
So you like that one. What did you make of the ride that was given to Impair a Pass in that by JJ Slevin? Certainly had it well off the pace, if you like.
Yeah, it was like they were intent on him finishing race off, wasn't it? You couldn't say give it the best possible chance of winning the race, could you? But
not really. Oxford One says that everything's trying. I don't buy that at all. No. I've seen a lot of good trials at this festival for Cheltenham. Not so certain about that. So Imperi Pass, I think if you're backing that for anything, I wouldn't be too worried yet because that wasn't given much of a chance and his jumping were a little bit sticky.
Yeah.
So we go to the Grade 1 Novice, which is, of course, the Supreme Novice trial. A super performance, John, from Kopek de Boards into sort of 7-4, I think you can get. I'm not sure if that's
that'll be odds on the day. Surely that'll be an odds on shot. That looks an absolute good thing, doesn't it?
I've got to say, I was absolutely blown away by it.
Yeah, amazing. That's got to be odds on. I think that 7-4 is massive. If you prepare to tie your money out for 6 weeks at 7-4, I think you'd struggle to find better short price bets than that. I think it looks a right good price. It's probably evens now.
Well, this is it.
Yeah, it goes quickly.
7-4's got it 6-4.
Go on, do me a 60,000 to 40. Go on credit. On credit. On credit. I won't be pulling it up.
No, if you lose, you'll pay me off at £50 a year.
No, I won't even do that.
I'm going to say, yeah, you wouldn't.
Yeah.
Our farm, so 6-4. You think that's value, Chris?
Yeah, I do. I do actually. I think you'd struggle to find a more impressive performance, and that performance has happened at the right time, isn't it? You're 6 weeks away, I suppose, from the festival. It's not like one of these performances that they come out in October, November. You're not going to get better than that. I can see that. My gut feeling is that'll go off odds on. I think that'll be the banker for many people over the meeting. I really do.
Hard to argue with that. Would you agree with all of that, John?
I think he's made a very good mark, Ross, in third place there. That good and clever.
Yes. That's a good point, John. It wasn't like he just beat trees, and you think, "Oh, what an aeroplane!"
That's running some trolley run races. I think it was the Entain that ran that, and that was a good race. They went a good gallop all the way around there, and
totally.
He proved himself. Well, he proved himself worth his figures. Yeah,
and he jumped awful first time, didn't he? When he made his appearance, and really improved now.
So this thing is just fucked out over him, hasn't he, really? So
yeah. It's also, of course, in the turners, but I think the owner mentioned today there's no need to go up in trip. No. Like he actually said that after the race. Why would you? What do you need to go a bit further for? Find out if you stay. Yeah, I'd just do that for now. Supreme Novice all the way. And like Chris says, odds against, you won't see a bar of that on the day of the race.
The odds on, won't he?
Yeah. There you go. You've heard it on the Bastards. Odds on Kopek de boards on the day. The Dublin Chase was made all by Solness. Some questioned that some jockeys were asleep in that and gave them too much to do. The time was absolutely ludicrously fast, astonishingly fast, nearly 6 seconds quicker than standard. So that is an incredible performance by Solness. But on the back of that, John, the likes of Solness and Marine Nationale for the Fez, it's a no, isn't it? On back of that, that's a lung-busting effort.
The memory just not long enough to get over it, but Christ.
I'm telling you, not for me.
No.
I'm not backing any of them next time out after that. I mean, Marine Nationale were first to chase it. Again, ran an absolute belter. Gaelic Warrior, I'm going to say it now, I think that's one of the worst, probably Arkle winners I think I've seen. I'll be honest. I thought it was a bad race last year.
Yeah.
Ilite Tomps that finished third must have hit every fence. I just thought it was really a poor Arkle for that kind of standard. I know people say, well, Matata was fourth. I think Matata, though, as well, is a different horse this year because he's now dropping the bit and settling, whereas he didn't settle last year. So I don't think you can compare Matata of last year to Matata at the moment. So Gaelic Warrior for me is a massive no at the Fez after today's performance. Don't like him. He hangs right. He jumps right, John. Horrible, isn't he? That's where we go with that. So my advice is I'm not backing Solness and Marine Nationale at the Fez for that reason. I think they've left the race right there. If they were mine, I won't be out for 8 to 10 weeks. They'd have some time off and that'd be it. It was brutal. To record that time was monstrous.
You sent Gino out 24 hours after his Arkle saunter, wouldn't you?
I think so. Do both.
Yeah.
Absolutely. The Irish champion hurdle, not really a lot to say. I'll be honest, this sounds after timing, but Lossiemouth for me, I don't understand why they're keeping her at 2 miles. Her jumping isn't foot perfect, as we've seen. It wasn't foot perfect when she won at Fairy House. It wasn't foot perfect at Kempton when she was second to Constitution. And she's ended up on the deck today over 2 mile. For me, she's a genuine 2.5 miler. I think the mare's hurdle will be bound for that. You can forget champion hurdle with her.
A nasty fall, I thought.
It was. She got hit, didn't she, by another runner?
I'd be really interested to see what the next report is from Willie's because I wouldn't bank on her making Cheltenham after that.
No, I thought State Man would have beat her anyway.
Yeah, probably.
In running. That's what I felt. I felt State Man was always just...
I didn't think she booked herself very race, to be honest. I'm just getting sick of looking at jumps, I see.
I know what you're saying. We're busting to move on, aren't we? No, I'm not going to let you. Just going through the market. So obviously, just for punters, how we stand at this stage. This looks like Blogger's going to have a Goliath here, isn't it?
You'd hope so. You'd hope they're all second as well.
Yeah, I know, yeah. Kopek de Boards, obviously, we've just highlighted in the Supreme Novice. On day one, Arkle, Sergino, match bet against Majborough. It's either way. I know some supporters of Majborough will think, well, if he jumps better, he's going to be a real problem for Sergino. I agree with that. But it's a big if. It's an if, isn't it? That's the thing. John thinks he's better over further. The Mare's Hurdle, again, lossy mouth, like John says. How will that fall affect her? It's a confidence thing for Mares. A jumping hasn't been foot perfect, like it is. And so Brighter Days Ahead probably is the one in that, unless, of course, they reroute for the champion, which I'll be surprised if they do with her. So again, you're going to have a real small field champion. I think the Constitutional to beat Stateman and some absolute rags. It's going to be a very disappointing field. Day one done. Wednesday, Stephen Thomas has been on and he said, right, good ground. The new Lion, Final Demand. If Final Demand turns up for the Turners rather than the longer distance one, the Albert Bartlett, who wins of the pair?
Bugger if I know. Genuinely, I wouldn't really have any guess, to be honest.
It's a good race. It's a good race. I think that's it. Sum it up like it is, Johnny. It is a good race. That's a good matchup. That's going to be a great clash for sure. So
but neither one of them's particularly grabbed me by the bollocks and had me thinking I must be with that next time, wherever it is. And don't like that. I think they're both good horses, but I'm not gagging the back either of them.
No. Are you a backer of Ballyburn at 2-1 in the Brown Advisory? Either of you, John or Chris?
No.
Chris?
Nah. Definitely not. No, you'd be better to 2-1 shot somewhere else, wouldn't you?
Well, I'm thinking he could be better than Tote One on the day.
Yeah, I was going to think that. I mean,
I don't think he's grabbing people at the minute.
Nah.
No, fair enough. Champion Chase, John Bon has shortened in on the back of the performances in Ireland today. John Bon is now best price evens with Hills. And that comes with a run, of course, with a non-run and no bet. So Hills is the place to go if you fancy John Bon at even money. Do you know what? I'm going to say something at a price in this. If it's 14-1, I think you get it with Betfair Sports. Good luck with that. El Fabiolo. It came down at the second today. He's had jumping issues. It thumped John Bon, didn't it, in the Arkle?
Yeah.
Because he fell early, he didn't have that brutal race that race turned out to be today. Solness, Marine National, all having...
It'd be the only York from over there, wouldn't it?
What are they going to do with Banbridge, do you reckon? They're going to go Ryanair Banbridge.
There's no way they'll run 2 mile.
No.
Minimum 2.5, and I mean, if they had any chance to go Gold Cup on good ground,
I think that's a mistake. Like Ile Francais, dropping that back in trips, that's a load of bollocks. That's stupid. Whoever owns that or trains that, no, George, you need sectioning. There's no way that is a 2-miler. No way. Kempton, 3 mile. That's what it wants. That's what it had. It just ran into one. That's what it is. Nothing more to say. Not like it didn't stay. Beat rest out of sight. Just ran into Banbridge, of course. Grand Daniel, no, look at fucking Grand Daniel. Fucking Grand Daniel. Who's put that in my face? Who got to win that? Going down to Thursday, the Ryanair Chase. Let's discuss fact to file, John, at 2-1 for the Ryanair Chase. Does that float your boat?
I still think they've had aspirations of the Gold Cup, to be honest. I mean,
they're not going to beat Galloping, though, are they?
No, I don't say I will think he's quick enough to win a Ryanair. He's going to be one of them, isn't he? He's just going to finish 4th, whatever you do, so suck it up.
Ile Francais in the Ryanair is a better bet than running in the Champion Chase. At 5-1 in the Ryanair.
Yeah.
That's more like its trip. We're getting there now.
The Champion Chase is a bit insane, isn't it? Really, for a 3-miler.
Yeah. Ile Francais for the Ryanair at 5-1. Yeah, I need it with a run, though. You know I do with these idiots, where they're going to... Friday, the Triumph, as we've said, current prices. Hello Neighbour is a ridiculous 9-2. You can double that with me. That has no chance of beating La Lambert or East India Dock. None. Double that with me. As a book, now, I'd be sort of like thinking, why are you 5-1 that? Win only, though. None of this each way snide shit. It's one of them. Win on the nut.
If you want 9-1, DM Lee, because it's fucking murder when
John getting me back for the snooker bet the other day. Honestly, I can't have that. Who are these price makers? Is there anyone that's interested in the game anymore? Just stand up now. Just chalk up eights now. Eights. Have eights. Come on, special. That's not going to beat them two. I mean, what is it currently? We've got 7-4 Lalambra, 11-4 East India Dock. So that's 63%, 8-13. Do I think that's a great price? Not necessarily, but I'm not laying that anyway. Besides, we're all on the Lambert at bigger prices.
I think it reflects the chances.
Yeah, it does. Gold Cup 4-6 Galloping Deschamps. I know you two have got better things to do to back that at 4-6, despite him being good. It's just there's 4-6 chances in maidens where you don't. Third fav's not off, and second fav's an absolute good. You don't need 4-6 watch for 3 1/4 mile to think, is this going to jump well today?
Well, I usually only watch second circuit anyway.
Yeah, for sure. Right, some questions on DRF. Busy on the racing this week. Some of you will say, boo, boring, but we have some fun later. John put some fun into this show, as always. So, is Nico de Bonville really that good of a jockey, says Carl?
He's taking a piss, isn't he? He couldn't ride a fucking bike.
He was insinuating that.
Yes. Yeah, definitely.
John, what's your review of Nico? What do you think?
A lovely pair of hands, doesn't get the chances he deserves.
Yeah. Working class kid being held back. That's all he is. Yeah.
If only he got the breaks.
That's right. Watch him do that, not dressage, what's it called? Where they jump the poles. Come on, I've got a mental block. What's it? Where they go around Olympia on
Olympia, yeah.
Yeah, but what's the sport called? It's not dressage.
Show
jumping. Thank you very much. You watch him there. Fucking hell. He just rode the horse through every gate. Terrible. You can tell how much of a horseman he is. People say, oh, he's such a good horseman. Watch him go around there and still tell me he's a good horseman.
Okay.
Is David Broom still involved in that?
Yeah, David Broom.
David Broom.
Paul Shockamola, Eddie Harty. Remember all those?
Yeah,
Raymond Brooks Ward.
Yeah.
Paul
Shockamola, remember him?
Yeah, Eddie Harty. Yeah.
Alvin Shockamola as well, wasn't there? There was two Shockamolas.
Was there? Really? Yeah. Bit of nepotism there then, I think. Don't like show jumping anyway.
Then there was Harvey Smith, got the boys straight in, didn't he?
Yes, he did. Yeah. Because there seems to be a pattern there with equine sports, isn't it? It's not what you know, it's who you know.
Eddie Macken.
Eddie Macken, yeah, you're right. Eddie Macken, not Eddie Harty. Eddie Macken. Gosh, that's going back to what...
Eddie Harty won a national, Chris.
He did, yeah. Late 70s, 80s, that was when show jumping was televised, wasn't it, on BBC quite regular.
Anyone mention Nick Skelton?
No, I prefer not to.
No, I was going to say yes. Yes, conspicuous by his absence in our conversation, yeah.
He used to target certain events and otherwise he was out the back.
More listener stuff now. Paul Conkers has been on. He says the DRF weekend is fantastic. Ticket €60. Cheltenham 1 day club £100. Some difference. In Leopardstown you can stay and drink a few pints, watch rugby after racing. In Cheltenham you get hunted out the gate by some idiot steward 20 minutes after the last, not very welcoming. So interesting comment there from an actual race goer that has sampled both festivals. Next one, Samuel the Cat, an early question.
Really?
Yeah, he's not getting the last one this week. It's a racing question. He says, DRF was bound.
Yes.
Decades ago, England was like this. I'm not sure about that, but anyway, it might have been. What tweaks and things would you bring back from the old days to make us happy again? Can be ban political correctness, bring back an old TV show, a defunct chocolate bar, crisps, close the gambling commission, or even bring back ice cream vans, etc. Sam the Cat. Well, I read how you'd improve racing instantly to start. Chris, right, you're now a BHA executive.
Hurrah!
What's the first thing you're doing to improve, like the race goer, like Paul Conkers said, €60 for a weekend ticket to watch top class horse racing? What's the first thing you do, like, to get people talking about British racing?
Well, that's an interesting question, and I'm gonna completely duck it. The answer is I don't know, because I don't know enough about the sort of interrelationship between the various competing factions in racing. So I would try and, I won't say I'd duck it, but I'd want to spend 6 months properly understanding all these competing groups and the kind of commercial relationships between them, because I think it'd be easy to say, oh, well, just lower ticket prices, or, you know, have this, have that, make food cheaper. But I think before you do that, you've got to understand why racecourse food and attendance is such an expensive day out. Now, people would liberally turn around and say, oh, they're just greedy, you know, greedy vendors, greedy racecourses. And that might ultimately be the case. But before you could find an alternative way of making the day out cheaper, I think you've got to understand it. And I think that's where racing's gone wrong. I don't think it's ever been administered or ruled by people that fundamentally understand the commercial relationships in play. So I'd want to understand it for 6 months before saying, right, this is what you need to do.
John, what would you do?
I would send letters out to all the trainers and all the tracks, detailing the fact that a new fixture list would be forthcoming in a fortnight with a greatly reduced number of fixtures, and any tracks wishing to continue to race under the rules of racing can keep their fucking traps shut.
That is superb, that, to be honest. Playing Call My Bluff, isn't it? You know, like Frank Muir.
You know, you just got to take it to the 8th degree as well, and if they start, they're out.
Yeah.
And any trainers entering horses to run standalone fixtures, they're out.
Yeah, no, I like that. Sam the Cat, I know you wanted to talk about like bringing back a chocolate bar and bringing back ice cream vans and stuff, but I think this is a good thing for racing, like to talk about this. And I'm with Chris all the way in terms of I'd be heavily focused on the grey pound. We've said it many a time on the pod. Racing seems obsessed with attracting younger audiences, which the young will come anyway because it's open air boozers at the end of the day. They like all that shit. Band after racing will come for that. They've done all that, right? If you want really the game to succeed, it is bring back the grey pound to racing and look after them and give them a nice lounge with coffees. And
you could build a care home on site, couldn't you?
Yeah, you could. Yeah, and a funeral home as well, not as an annex.
You can get your folks in there, and
and then in that care home, there'll be like baths for them, so they can sit like that bloke in pure cremation. Adds John.
Yeah, it'd be fantastic.
Really happy that he's going to.
But he's got a 52-inch telly in there, so he linked up to the racing.
Yeah, so he can watch racing while ringing pure cremation.
And the nurses could come in, couldn't they? Take the bets, ring this through, love. Put me 40 quid on that. Take it off the bill.
If you match us your winners, it can order extra flowers and shit.
Yeah, or an extra week's food. Yeah, or care. Yeah, that's a great business model.
Good stuff, like that. Yeah. So we come around to big Corp sucking the joy out of racing. And what we meant by that, not necessarily books. We already know they do. They suck the joy out of everyone's lives, basically, by not taking any bets off anyone worthwhile to take bets off. If you are a loser, you will get on. If you are a winner, you won't. It's that simple. We'll leave that side out of it because everyone knows about this. So we're going to talk about big Corp. I'm going to bring John in here because remember the old flat days, John? We had a multitude of wealthy Arab owners, wealthy British owners, wealthy European owners. It was across the board. I mean, you can just list them off your tongue. You went through all the Arabs, Wafik Saeed, Sheikh Ahmed, Fard Salman, Sheikh Mohammed. It was like an absolute fest of Arab owners to start with. Then you got your Lord Snooties like Howard De Walden and
I like to class them all as like all your own breeders, you know. Howard De Walden, Lady Beaverbrook, Jim Joel, Weinstocks, Louis Friedman, you know, the list goes on, doesn't it? It was so much more an even spread of decent horses than now, where we did have sort of a straightforward matchup with Colmar against Godolphin. It's looking now like Godolphin's taking the ball home, isn't it?
It is. No one's making a deal of that. They're dropping the numbers off side, being Sorrell's packed in. Charlie Appleby just concentrates his best horses that he gets, all the horses, to America and Maidan.
If we're going to have Kia and the Ammo horses trying to turn back the tide, he's going to be like King Canute, isn't he?
Absolutely. He's going to be really struggling. Coolmore, what people say are good for the game. Well, this is what I want to ask you two. Are they really that good for the game? It's like Amazon, isn't it? If you fall out of the sky, I love that phrase, then land on the floor, you've just come to planet Earth and it's like, right, I need some fucking pants, socks. I need this, that, and other, right? It's like Schwarzenegger when he gets out at bar. I need your boots, your motorcycle.
And a portable beat guy as well. That's what you order. Yeah.
Get the drift. You know where I'm going with this. It's Amazon.
The trouble is, though, Lee, I mean, I think in the early days, I think they were very good for the game because I think they saved the game in the UK, really, because if they hadn't been buying baby stallions, every half decent stallion would have been stood in America.
Right,
in the mid to late 70s and going on through the 80s. But now they're established and getting bigger and bigger and bigger, they just start the steamroller it, aren't they, really?
That's a fair counter, actually. So, okay, with that in mind, the problem is, though, if you've got, say, Coolmore dominating, how can the ordinary syndicate, and you see this over jumps, that's why you get jumps owners, because they know they ain't turning up and winning a lock-in or can afford to buy one that's going to win a lock-in or anything down the line. It's like, oh, we've got a nice horse here. You don't beat them in the end because you haven't got the quality mare. You haven't got you need a lot of luck to be able to compete with them. And sadly, you're probably better off playing lost.
You need Fergie in your syndicate, really, don't you?
Yes, you do. Yes, you do. Luckiest owner in the world. Yeah, you need him.
So anyway, my own personal opinion is that big Corp aren't good, like Coolmore in a way. I know what John's saying. It's a very good counter. I'd be interested to see what listeners think of this, but I would like to see a broader spectrum of people having a slice of the cake. But as we see in real life, Amazon have got the dominance in this country in terms of, right, I need this for tomorrow.
I'm surprised sales prices have held up so well, to be honest, because I no longer think that the best horses are at the sales.
No.
Coolmore are breeding them.
Yeah, you got the best mares. Chris, have you any thoughts on this? Is it healthy? Is it healthy that Willie Mullins, for example, has so many, no other trainer gets a look in with these top class animals?
Depends what you mean by healthy. I mean, is it good visually? Is it good for the sport? Probably not, because I think people like a bit of variety. But as long as people are still prepared to bet on it to the extent that they do, and that people are prepared to sort of send him horses and, you know, and have them trained by him and prepared to be beaten by him every week, then I guess it isn't an issue, is it? I think it becomes unhealthy when people say, fuck that, I'm not having any more horses in training. I just can't beat this guy. I'm a rich man. I've got 50 horses, but I'm taking them all out training and selling them because I can't beat him. Until you get to that point, I don't think it's as much of a problem as people make out.
Okay. Love to have different views. And listeners, tweet us on this one because I want to get your views because I'm not so certain it benefits. Doubtful. John's put up a very good counterpoint. Chris doesn't really have an issue. What do you think? Good topic, that. There are pluses and minuses. I think we'll move on from that with that sort of ending. Right, Peter Saville. John says, what an arsehole. And Matthew Forth's been on and said, Saville and arsehole in the same sentence. I wonder what part of Twitter I stumbled into for a second there. John, clarify your points regarding head of the PRA, Peter Saville, and your opinion on what he's done with the climb down.
Anybody going and lobbying government about the perilous state of British racing at the moment, if the government reluctantly decided to have a look last week, they'd see more factions regarding trainers and owners all looking to cobble a few quid together rather than anybody seeing the big picture. Saville's plan was never ever going to generate any money for his PRA organisation that we don't even know anything about its funding or its purpose, all told, or it's all very opaque.
A bit cloak and dagger, isn't it? Trainers not willing to...
It's done, really, is stir the shit. And it was never, ever going to generate any money for interviews. Any idiot could have seen that, and yet still, Saville, the man pretty much more than anyone responsible for the state of the media rights situation now, is still lauded to the skies and given platforms to do things like this, and people follow him. I mean, the likes of Skelton and that, you know. I mean, I personally, I wouldn't follow him through an open door. You know, so-called shrewdies like Dan Skelton clearly think the sun shines out with his what now.
We pointed out on last week's show, one of their key points, and I do like the key point, and I think this is why trainers have bought on board with it, because they want tracks to provide 33% as a minimum of their media rights money as prize money. Obviously, we know the tracks won't disclose what they're getting from media rights, so it's rather difficult to ascertain who's getting what at the moment in terms of funding. So I get that. I'm totally on board with that. I support that mission statement. But as we said on last week's show, I do not support the timing of that release. It was a known goal, like Chris said, sack the PR department.
He fits in and out of the game, doesn't he, Saville? You know, I mean, after the media rights thing, when he was at, I think it was called the BHR, wasn't it, or something? BHB, or whatever.
BHB, pretty sure, yeah.
And then he goes missing for ages, and then he comes back with things like this, you know. It's like defending a disposable barbecue, isn't it?
Yeah.
He's there one minute, he's gone the next, and he's not bothered what he leaves behind. There's nobody really to mop up at the minute. And that's the awkward thing. It's all not in a very good state, and people like that don't seem to be helping.
Chris?
You're right. He does sort of pop in and out of the game, doesn't he? But he enjoys it's kind of a reverence that I think his track record doesn't deserve. But, you know, he is held in such high esteem, and I've never really understood why, to be honest. I don't know what it is.
Final two topics, really, before we come on to the funny. Entain, very interesting post this week, posted by my modeler, Cutting Edge Comment. He came on the timeline and said about Entain's rules, their changes, and it shows you how bad these bookmakers are, right? Two rules that Entain have got. 10.7, you may not place a bet on any event in which you are directly or indirectly a participant. Placing of such bet is in breach of any rules on betting or misuse of inside information relevant to a sports governing or professional body of which you are a member of, which you unfairly influence the outcome. Any such bet will be void. Next point, where we see patterns in your betting activity that give rise to our reasonable suspicion that you are engaging in arbitrage, targeting pricing errors, targeting latency, and or taking part in syndicated activities. We will place restrictions on your account, which may include limiting your maximum stakes. We have the right set out in Clause 15 with respect to any prohibited activity you have engaged in. So Entain have got every angle fucking covered, haven't they?
Yes, in a nutshell. That's outrageous, isn't it? Targeting pricing errors. So basically saying if we get it wrong, we reserve the right to not to be punished for it. Unreal.
Astonishing language.
Isn't the whole purpose of a punter to target pricing errors?
Yeah, that's exactly it. That's it. Overpriced horses. That's all you got to do. And they're saying, well, if you do target overpriced, I'm not talking about palpable errors here. Not palpable errors. Just we might have got it a bit wrong.
Yeah.
And what does that mean? What does that mean in reality? What, that they go 6-4, about 11-8 chance? What?
Ed, that's his real name, Ed. Why not start a negative campaign and boycott against Entain or selected bookmakers? The reason being is because racing, as we've said on this show, does not unite. It's a standalone lone wolf product where if said punter can get on with Entain, they're going to get on with Entain.
Yeah, I mean, it's different, isn't it? If we, on this podcast, said, right, a fortnight tomorrow, we're calling for a block Entain day,
yeah,
it'd hardly get any take-up. You know, maybe about 15 people.
Yeah.
If the BHA put something in the Racing Post tomorrow, saying in a fortnight's time, we want all of racing to swear Entain, be considerably different, but the BHA would never, ever, ever get behind something like that.
No, not at all. But not the incumbents they employ, because they're just to their next CEO role somewhere else to say, look what I've done with DEI and everything else, the old buzzwords and watchwords that's in corporate world today. It's terrible for punters. Punters really are the fodder now. They are fodder in terms of big corp. You better get used to it, because it ain't going to get any better. Moving on, Phil Bull comes up with a decent question, and he said, do Sky Bet use automated land registry searches to work out how much home equity their punters have so they can properly rinse them? Yeah, and this is quite an interesting post, because this is where Sky Bet have been found to be extensively using their resource
Wow.
There's a case here. The case against Bontair Limited, trading as Sky Betting and Gaming, came after a man who lost £46,000, requested records of the data the company held on him. Through those documents and subsequent legal disclosures, he discovered the company and its partners had collected hundreds of thousands of pieces of data that were used to profile and target him. The data filled more than 2,400 spreadsheets and has been used to predict his behaviour, selecting for targeted marketing campaigns. And in 2017, he was sent at least 1,389 marketing emails offering him free bets and special prizes and encouraging him to spend. He often deposited money as a direct result. He is now seeking compensation. A further hearing is expected to divide how much he's entitled to. This is the angle, guys, isn't it? We talk about how they've operated regarding collecting data off people and why they want it so badly. And that highlights what they're actually doing. If you give them the works and by open banking, or whether that's by you've sent your mortgage statement in or anything like that, they know exactly how much is left on your mortgage to pay, what they can rinse you for. Right? How bad is this?
Yeah, it's appalling, isn't it? And remember, we mustn't lose sight of the fact that you're having a bet. You're not buying a house. You're not acquiring a company. You're not involved in some complex financial transaction. You're sending all this personal information to a largely unregulated industry, personal information to enable you to have a bet with your money. And that's how absurd it is. And, you know, I can fully anticipate a slew of legal cases about misuse of data, you know, the ability or the inability of these operators in faraway jurisdictions, you know, mishandling your information. You know, there's been lots of legal cases where you know, big corporations have been ordered to pay gazillions of pounds for, you know, for not holding people's data securely. And I think this is the next slew of litigation. I really do.
Yeah, they're fucked. Where you see it now with diesel cars in 2009 on emissions, where there's blame, there's a claim. I'll guarantee you in 10 years, you're going to get this against bookmakers. Has your identity been misused or stolen in any way?
Exactly right. And also the relationship that affiliate tipsters have with bookmakers. I mean, that's a dark and murky area. You know, when someone tips up a horse, you know, best price, Bet365, Sky Bet, etc. You know, the undisclosed commissions argument, you know, I think would be a runner against a lot of these bookmakers, because you're effectively paying people on paper to tip horses, and you know, ultimately they are incentivized by, you know, the amount of money that those punters lose as a result of the advice given. That's undisclosed commissions. And, you know, that's been proved time and time again with lots of different pieces of litigation, that you've got to disclose your commercial relationship when you're advising something.
Well, one thing's for sure, it'll make Harry Stewart more.
Yeah, well, indeed. 700 notes an hour or whatever. Happy days.
He won't need the AK bets pod. Fuck that. He'd be like, here we go, lads. The horse has bolted. Here we go. Plenty for HSM there. Next subjects, on a similar subject, Abby McGregor of the Gamblers Consumer Forum appeared on BBC Morning Live today with Will Prochaska, a pro-gambling reformer and campaigner, and it left me thoroughly depressed. Chris Fawcett, I think, said something like this was positive. I didn't see it as positive, not because Abby was rubbish or anything. Abby was fantastic in terms of what she was saying, but Will Prochaska, geez, these people use fake statistics. They lie, do anything to get where they're at. You can see the narrative in mainstream. So I know it's BBC. We know what the BBC are, right? The host was even sort of siding with Will Prochaska and the doctor at the end, which we'll come to in a minute.
Yeah, he's a lunatic, wasn't he? Absolutely.
Your doctor and your betting. Honestly, it shows you we're trying something and it's very unlikely to succeed. I've got to be honest, I'm quite despondent at the moment. Sorry for being negative, but at the end of the day, you're taking on the BGC, the Gambling Commission, the media, the racing media.
Yeah.
Racing itself, right? To do something about this. No one is putting the head above the parapet and actually wanting to do it, which I get it, because believe me, how do you beat all this lot? The government, they're not interested. It's like, hang on, racing's going to fall off the Niagara Falls. Are you interested? No. But this is going to lose like 483 million a year to the Treasury. There's going to be people out of jobs. There's going to be all sorts of carnage, people's mental health in racing, bloodstock industry collapses. Are you bothered? We need to save Peter in Milton Keynes that's done his absolute bollock on the bandits and the bookies. What is going off in the world? It's astonishing. Poor Abby today, she put up a decent fight, she did. And she, to be fair, she didn't go all like rabid like we would. She just sort of like mentioned about whilst addiction needs to be taken seriously, but at the same time, this is like needle and haystacks. And Will Prochaska referred to, no, it was more like it's haystacks and needles regarding gambling addiction. Can you believe that? That sort of statement itself is just absolute nonsense. This guy is a disgrace. I mean, obviously, we're trying to work with Zarb, for example, right? As a sort of compromise, etc., for British racing. I can tell you now, Will Prochaska makes Zarb look like Harry Finlay. This guy is something else. Chris, I was despondent watching it.
And you were right to be. I mean, he's. I thought he was unhinged, to be honest. But you're right. You know, he's regarded not as an extremist anymore. He's regarded as someone that occupies the reasonable middle ground. And the reason he's viewed as such is because racing is complete inertia. 2 or 3 years ago, when the likes of Shilton, etc., were going on TV, and that narrative that all gambling is bad was completely unopposed. Racing did nothing, or rather, the bookmaking industry did nothing to oppose that point of view. So now you've got, you know, people like Abbey are seen as extremists because these guys have, you know, are very comfortable in the middle ground. They're reasonable. They want to save lives. And anyone opposing that view, de facto, is viewed as someone that doesn't care about people's lives. And that's what we know is complete nonsense. But that's where we are because they failed to challenge the narrative years ago. And it's too late now. That is the orthodoxy. All gambling is bad.
I like the woke doctor on the show, by the way, because he said about, and John made a point at the start of the show about like his ROI and he's just seen his scan.
Yeah.
The doctor on the show actually said something like, well, we'd measure it holistically and we'd analyse your stress level.
What a load of rubbish. It's nonsense.
It's incredible, right? So do I get stressed when I'm losing and I'm on a bad losing run? Yes, of fucking course I do. It's my living.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable. Any gambler that's lost money, how are you not going to get stressed?
Well, it's like saying, you know, you're having a shit day at work. Yeah, I'm stressed out. Well, don't go work then. You know, my wife's shouting at me. Well, don't get married then. Divorce her. There you go. That's the sort of simplistic logic these idiots apply.
It's incredible. You win money, right? And then you experience the joy and the adrenaline. But then you on a losing run, you experience the pain and the stress, just like anyone else does. Bookmakers do.
Yeah.
Are you telling me that an on-course bookmaker has 3 months consecutive losses isn't stressing?
Of course they are.
Like anyone else, it's like it gets boring. Losing is boring. Losing is stressful. That's what the game is. It's a bit like footballers. Do footballers get stressed on losing runs? Managers, of course they do. They get stressed because they're losing games and they know the job depends on it. So what's this bollocks about? Oh, we'd measure it by stress.
That's nonsense. That's just word salad, isn't it? And they refer to all medical professional. It's white coat syndrome. Oh, he must know all about it. I mean, is he an expert in gambling? No, of course he isn't. You know, and as we've said before, you know, reckless gambling is often a symptom of other issues in someone's life, that they turn to drugs, they turn to gambling, they turn to other reckless behavior, you know, but you know, it's simply a symptom. It's not the root cause most of the time.
Imagine me explaining to a doctor and saying, right, are you stressed out through your gambling?
Yeah.
And then referring me to some kind of NHS clinic because I'm stressed out through my gambling. Because I'm fucking stressed out.
Manned by people who've never had a bet in their lives. That's the problem.
We're dealing with them, and sadly, they're in charge of the picnic, which isn't very good.
No.
It's full of like courgettes and no meat.
The thing is with this, mate, I mean, as regards countering it, Abbott over the last 12 months, racing collectively has done more about net zero than it has about...
Correct.
Net zero and DEI. Yeah.
As regards net zero, I noticed the other week even the royal family are doing their bit.
Good.
Regarding recycling. You know when the Queen died and all the Paddington Bears were left outside Buckingham Palace?
Yeah.
They've sent the flunkies out to collect them and they've given them to Prince Andrew to use as bait.
We're going to finish on a funny, of course, and this is John's. Who's your favourite wacky racer? I love this question, and he's put Dick Dastardly question mark. Some of you coming back. Bert Doncaster says, always like the Antill mob. Bob Marker in Pratt's bookmakers in Northallerton look like the bastard child of Clyde and Willie.
Yeah.
Nick Davis has been on, and he said, did anyone ever keep a phone book on Wacky?
Yeah.
Nick, I'm going to give you the stats at the end. You're going to love this. Another one, Dastardly's definitely my favourite wacky racer. He'd always go clear early on and find a way to cock it up, a bit like some jockeys now. I used to bet on wacky races with my friends.
race night. Yeah,
Yeah, they'd have me in counselling now, Tom Livermore.
Buckingham chair, isn't it?
And is it wrong to admit to knocking one out over Penelope Pitstop?
yeah,
Asking
it
for a friend?
completely is. Yeah,
Right.
it completely is. That's fucking degenerate.
Hail,
Yes.
hail.
Hey, hooded claw. Sylvester
Yeah.
Sneakley was our
I'll
uncle,
get
wasn't he?
you, Pitstop.
Yeah, he was horrible, wasn't he? Like a groomer.
Yeah. Right. So, John, I'm asking you, who were your favourite wacky racer?
Definitely Dastardly and Muttley.
Yeah.
I just thought he had a cool car, you know?
Dude.
Yeah.
With
Yeah.
a really 00.
A purple sort of rocket.
Named after the flower to make pasta.
Hang on. What am I saying here? Purple rocket shaped.
Oh,
I mean,
for fuck's sake, yeah.
That's
You can't tell me when they wrote that there wasn't a lot of drugs around. My favourite was Lazy Larry and Blubber Bear, and they drove the Arkansas Chuckabug. Do you remember
They
that?
did.
Yeah.
They did.
Yeah, it was like a hick, and his racing seat was a rocking chair, and he smoked a corncob pipe, as I remember, and he steered with his bare feet. And he was accompanied. His co-pilot was a bear that was scared of everything. He used to bite his nails. Called Blubber Bear. I mean, that has got to be drug influenced, doesn't it? Christ,
Yeah.
that was brilliant. Yeah,
My favourite were the Slag Brothers
Oh,
because
good.
they were just like solid every week.
Good each way they were. They were good each way.
The Slag Brothers were the each way bets because
Yeah,
I've got the
thieves
results
bet.
here. The Slag Brothers won 3 races, second 8 times, third 3 times.
Oh, value they were.
That's phenomenal.
Always in handy.
No bet. Yeah, no loss.
So I'm going through them now. I'm going through all the
What
counts.
about Professor Pat Pending? How'd he get on?
Yeah, I'll tell you. It's good.
Okay,
Right.
cool.
Here you go. So Dick Dastardly and Muttley,
Yeah.
right? Of all the episodes, no first, no second, no thirds.
Oh,
Final score, no.
over bet they always
Yeah,
were.
yeah.
Yeah.
Next to bottom was Army Surplus Special, Sergeant Blast. He had 3 wins, 1 second, no thirds, so he got 11 points. Next one was Professor Patent Pending, 3 wins, 2 seconds, 5 thirds, so he got tied in 3rd place. Lots of tied thirds here. Then we got Chuggabug, which of course Chris has just mentioned. He was tied 3rd with 4 wins, 1 second, 4 thirds. Peter Perfect came in with, that's Ed Chamberlain, isn't it, really?
Yeah, Peter Perfect, yeah.
4 wins, 2 seconds, 2 thirds. Then it was Crimson A-Baller, Red Max, 3 wins, 4 seconds, 3
Ooh.
thirds. Going up the list now. It was Creepy Coop. Do you remember the Creepy Coop?
Yeah, of course they do.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was
Three-
cool.
3 wins, 3 seconds, 6 thirds. And then next in the line was Penelope Pitstop.
Yeah.
She had 4 wins, 2 seconds, 5 thirds. Then it was the Antle Mob, the Bulletproof Bomb, 4 wins, 5 seconds, 2 thirds. In second place of all time of point scoring was Buzzwagon, Rufus Roughcut. He had 3 wins, 6 seconds, 4 thirds. And of course, the number one of
Go on.
what I've just said is the Slag Brothers. 3 wins, 8 seconds. Look at that for considering 3 thirds. Always there, Andy. That was the filthy each way bets. That's the Isiris bet.
Second
Slag
fab
Brothers.
in a novice hurdle, 9 to 4. Yeah, back
Slag
each
Brothers
way.
each way at 7 or 2
Yeah.
to win wacky races. So what you get people watching them all back now.
So you're wrong. He only had 3 to 4.
You're wrong. You didn't have 3. Yeah.
If you ever went to a charity race night, it'd be better if they had the wacky races and them American racehorse films, wouldn't it?
Yeah, that'd
Actually,
be
it
good,
would.
wouldn't it? Yeah, race night. Yeah.
Wacky races would be better than watching US races because it's
Yeah.
funnier. And you don't know which episode it is, so it's like, right, fucking hell, who's won this one? That's a good idea. Business idea. They don't
Yeah.
wacky races, race nights. Yeah. Right. What a show that was. Got plenty through there. That's all from me, John and Chris. Hope you enjoyed it. We're back next week, same time. Bye for now.